Well, here's an area of the park, particular park in Dundalk that I have not seen before. Please stay off the beach grass. Thank you. Right next to the power lines, there's a little tiny grassy beach. Right behind an old modular home community. Not bad looking. So, what I want to talk about today is what we have lost in our lives between dial-up, the start of dial-up internet, through DSL, through cable, and now through all the way through 3G, 4G, and 5G internet. The things that we used to do and what we have lost since then. There's probably a lot of things that we could really come up with since the 90s when dial-up was really brought out to the consumers for internet. My mom got Prodigy internet back in 1991 with a 1991 Packard Bell that had a 33.6 modem on it. 33.6 kilobyte modem was new at the time. The internet wasn't out yet. You had Prodigy. The competitors to Prodigy back then, there were a few of them among computer nerds. If you remember this from back in the early 90s, you had CompuServe, that was a big one. Perhaps early on, it was bigger than Prodigy. You had AOL, which was not that popular back in the early 90s. You had AOL, you had Prodigy. You even had something called a Delphi. I didn't know what a Delphi was. I think it only had about 115,000 subscribers early on. If anyone that checks out my video had a Delphi back in the early 90s, let me know what that was like. I know it was a competitor of Prodigy and CompuServe and AOL. Ultimately, AOL won between the big four. Once AOL 2.5 came out, started getting some more of a base, and then AOL 3.0 came out, and that's when it really started to take off. And they started to include access to the internet with it. With Netscape and Lycos and Excite, Web Crawler. Who remembers Web Crawler? Netscape was probably the biggest one back then. But back then, you waited for your modem to call in to the online service, and it took about, good 90 seconds before you basically were able to log in online. It was all through keywords. You had special keywords to go to special places on the service. I always played little games. You had a lot of puzzle games and stuff back then. And 3D games that I thought were pretty cool for the time. Had a little joystick that I could use. Actually, a big joystick that I could use to play the games with. But anyway, going back to 1991, we had a 386 Packard Bell. I think at some point we upgraded to a 486 and then to a Pentium computer, 100 megahertz. I think the Pentium was a Compaq. And at that point we were cruising on the internet slowly. It took forever to download some pictures. But, one of the points of my video is that I want to make is that times have changed so much because of the access of technology and the speed of everything, the speed of tech. We used to be patient. It was like a memorable, long experience to log into the online and sit there for 2-3 hours checking things out online until you got a phone call from somebody and they cut you off because someone called the house line and you got cut off, or someone else picked up the phone and tried to make a call out. Your service would automatically stop working, and then you'd have to redial up and go back. You'd get kicked off of the internet. But back then you could download, let's fast forward to the late 90s. You had Napster. You could download MP3s, and sometimes it would take a long time to download an MP3. A single MP3 could be 30, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours sometimes, depending on your connection and your upload speed, your download speed from wherever that song was coming from, because that was a community of hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, that were uploading and downloading files. And I can remember my friend Andy. He was downloading a game, or he actually bought the CD, but it took a long time. And I think it was like it was a combat game. I can't remember which game it was, but this is back in the early 2000s. He basically started installing the game, and it said it was going to take about an hour. So we all went and played basketball about across the street. We had a big game of like 8 of us. We were playing basketball on the basketball court while we were waiting for his game to finish installing. And we came back, and then the game was basically done installing, and he was able to start to configure it and get to playing it. But no one has patience like that anymore. You don't go outside and do stuff while you're waiting for something to be done on the computer. Everyone's an instant today. As time's marched on, once we got into the 4G and 5G category of our lives, with wireless and Wi-Fi, everyone wants it right now, lickety-split, and it's really changed how we live our lives. Everyone does not practice patience in their life anymore. Everyone wants it now. They want you to do things now. They want it now. They want it yesterday. They think that something should take 2 minutes, that's a 10-minute process, Like, everything has to be so fast. You have to, when you're traveling somewhere, it's gone into traveling, guys. People can't have patience to cruise anymore. Even on a nice day off when people aren't really working. You got to be somewhere quick. Everyone's driving around like crazy on the highways. And I'm a fast driver. I'm not like a slow poke by any means. Like, I go to work, it's a 40-mile-an-hour road. I think the road should be 50 miles an hour. And I typically drive about 57, 58 on it while I'm cruising into work. That's basically my cruise speed. But there will be people that are blowing by me, bobbing and weaving in and out of traffic, going 80 miles an hour, 85, 90. I've seen people going 90 plus on this road, going to or from work. It's crazy. People are like out of their mind. And they're not late. There's no reason for it. They're just how they've become. That's just how they are. They have no aptitude for patience. They have to be first. And they live like their whole lives like that. They can't be patient with anything. I'm seeing that in people today. I really think that people need to slow down. We've lost a lot over the years in terms of patience. We've lost our slower way of life. Even in the South of the United States, things have changed. People aren't generally slow living like they used to be. People don't know how to relax. I think that's really playing into our mental and physical health as well. People aren't exercising, taking the time to go out and walk around, and they just want to sit around and lounge around and watch TV or watch their phones all day. More so their phones, because most of the stuff isn't even on TV anymore. So yeah, things have really changed. Ever since dial-up was created, we've been evolving. We've been in this cycle that's really evolved into where things are have just become so fast-paced, and a lot of people are just miserable with it. Young people, older people. It's not just you. It's not just me. Lots of miserable people with the way of life today. Let me turn it here. Got a little walkway out there. You stay off the grass. I've never been down here. Got a can that's probably been there for months. These are protecting this marsh grass here. Very calm water. I wouldn't swim in it, that's for sure. The looks aren't bad here though. Don't look bad. Oh, we definitely wouldn't swim in it. So that was my discussion today. How things have changed so much since dial-up back in the 90s. Dial-up to 5G internet. People have changed. And we're going to go through another cycle. We're going to go through another change in our lives with AI. The AI revolution and robotics. It's already started. People are losing their jobs because of it. My hope is that when we come to the end of this AI cycle, that we basically have better lives. Maybe that will bring back our patience in the end. I think it's going to be a rough 10 years for this future cycle. I think more than that, really, 15 years. The government's going to have to create a lot of new rules and laws, legislate perhaps UBI, Universal Basic Income, is what they're talking about. I don't think that will happen at first, at least. I think they'll come up with a guaranteed minimum income for people that don't have jobs and can't find work and they've exhausted their unemployment. I think that'll be the first step. The first 5 or 6 years, or maybe even 10 years. That's what I believe the United States will end up doing for people as we get to saturation of job losses. What do you do once you get to 150 million jobs lost? And hardly anyone's working. That may take 20 years to get there. Maybe 25 years. I don't know the time frame. No one knows how quickly this will go. But eventually we'll get to that point with this whole revolution. And eventually UBI will be a thing, for sure. But politically and socially, I think GMI will be the first step. Guaranteed minimum income. What that income would be per month, who knows? Inflation has made life so expensive. It's not going to be more than maybe Social Security payments are. Whatever that is today. They can't say that any income higher than the minimum wage at 40 hours per week is a guaranteed minimum income. And minimum wage federally is only $7.25 an hour, so they'd have to raise that first in order to raise the GMI payment per month to an acceptable, somewhat acceptable, workable payment for people. But my guess is it'll probably be somewhere in the realm of $1,200 to $1,800 per month when they get it going. Of course, this is probably 5 years away when things are going to cost more. But that's a whole conversation, another conversation. That's the new cycle I believe is starting. And eventually when that whole AI and robotics cycle takes away most people's jobs, we're going to slow down. We're going to be forced to slow down. Because why do you need to rush around everywhere when you're not working anymore? It's going to be probably a dystopian 10 to 12 years here that coming up. Dystopian feeling, especially for everyone that loses their jobs and can't find one in the future. Just can't get hired. We all know it's coming. We all feel it coming. If you don't, I think you're living under a rock. I'm 43 and I don't think I'm going to live to see, I don't think I'm going to work to see myself working at age 67. Just a few years ago they were saying that we're going to retire by we're going to have to work until 70 in order to retire. They wanted to up the Social Security age. They may still do that, but they're going to have to provide something else in lieu of that for people much younger anyway, which I think was where GMI, guaranteed minimum income, will end up stepping in. But yeah, I don't see millennials, Xennials. I think Gen X, people in Gen X probably will make it 67, except maybe the youngest Gen Xers. They'll probably make it to the age of 67 working, as long as they can maintain their jobs and keep it in the coming years. But us Xennials, millennials, no, we're not going to be working to 67. That's going to be a big change for us. I'm going to do a whole video on that and my thoughts on that. But right now, I'd like to know what your thoughts are and what has changed since the beginning of dial-up. From dial-up all the way through 5G. What's changed so much with us? How we live. What have we lost? I think we've lost a lot compared to what we had in the 90s. I'd love to go back to the 90s just for like 2 days. 2 days living in the 90s before all this craziness happened. Anytime in the 90s, really. 1998 would be an amazing year to go back to. Or 95, before the cell phones really kicked in. 98, you had some cell phones. People were using cell phones, but that wasn't much of an issue yet. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my discussion. I'm just coming up with these discussions and talking out of the blue. I have no notes, no research. I didn't plan this. It's just something that pops up in my head. And I'll just start talking about it, and that's what my channel is about. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to have more conversations and hope to see you on my channel in the future. If you're watching this on March 21st, 22nd, and you're on the East Coast, especially in Maryland, enjoy the day. It's beautiful. Get out there and walk. It's an awesome day outside. Go anywhere, walk, enjoy the weather. We need it. Get some vitamin D, get some sunshine. All right, guys, take care.